Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of EcoVenture GSO. I'm Mike Romano, and with me as always is...
Crystal Jones. We're happy to see you all.
So today we're going to try and do an episode on pollination for you. About this time of year, if you go outside, you see everybody's cars covered in yellow, sometimes a little bit of yuck in the air and everybody's sneezing and coughing a little bit. Not related to the plague. And that's basically springtime pollination. And while it can be a pain in some ways, it's really, really important in a lot of other ways.
Yes, it is. Helps provide a lot of our food.
It does. We get a lot of our food through pollinators, and pollinators are a really important part of the ecosystem. So we're going to walk around the Greensboro Arboretum today and talk about different pollinators, some of the problems that, that they're facing right now, and how you can help. So let's take a walk, guys. One of the really, really cool features here at the Greensboro Arboretum is the fact that they've installed some beehives. These guys are amazing little workers. They are actually responsible for, not these particular ones, but bees in general are responsible for a third of the food that Americans eat. So 1 out of every 3 bites of food you take is directly comes from the bees pollinating their food, that kind of thing. Pretty cool, right?
That is super cool.
Right. So, do you know much about bees, Crystal?
Just a little bit. I know they're great pollinators.
They are great pollinators, and now the fact that we're over here talking about pollinators and this and that officially means that we are bee movie actors. So,
oh, yay!
Yay us, okay?
That's a move up for me.
I mean, right? I'm going from, the really low-class stuff to at least Bruce Campbell status, so it's okay. So anyway, one of the things with the bees, so they've got all these tons and lots of worker bees, okay?
Yes, they do.
And, they're getting sent out every day, and they're looking for food because they're looking for all the flowers, so the nectar and the pollen to, retrieve and bring back to the hive to feed everybody and develop into honey and, that kind of stuff, okay? So the fun thing with bees, well, there's lots of fun things with bees. We're going to go for hours, but I promise we won't. When they find food, they have to let everybody else know. Okay, so all those workers.
How do they do that?
Oh, all the workers, what they do when they get out there, they find flowers. They go back and they dance for their compatriots. They're like, hey, I found some food, but they have different types of dances depending on how far away the food is. So I can't really replicate it, but there's the short distance dance. There's the medium distance dance. And then, and if the food's really long, they do a whole different dance to let the other bees know how far away that food is. So they're like, all right, we're going to go here, 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 zoom in on it, and then, they can get all the food, which is really, really cool. That is cool. It's really awesome. It's a lot of fun. And then everybody can go and collect all the pollen and nectar and bring it back to the hive. And it's really neat. So when they go, they kind of slurp up a lot of the nectar. They actually have a separate little stomach that they can kind of store it in to bring it back and kind of regurgitate later. But all the pollen gets on their back legs, okay? And when they're going from flower to flower, all that pollen stuck to their back legs, but a little bits pop off, And when they go from flower to flower, they will kind of pollinate those flowers by a little bit coming off. They're pollinating different flowers, and then the majority of the pollen stays on them like little bee pants, And then they bring it all back to the hive, for food and whatnot. So it's really, really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But bees have a very intricate social structure. They're really important, and we absolutely need them for a lot of the food that we're eating. So most of the fruits, vegetables, that kind of stuff. We'll talk about some of those things in a little bit, but most of the fruits and vegetable stuff come from pollinators. All right, everybody, so we're still walking around the gardens, checking out all kinds of different plants and pollinators. Ooh, and this is a really, really cool one we just found. Be really, really quiet. They're a little skittish. We don't want them to run away, but check these out, okay? So this is milkweed. It's a little on the young side. These guys can get about 5-6 feet tall. This is a really, really important plant for a certain type of pollinator that most people love. So butterflies, okay? Especially the monarch butterflies that come around late spring, early summer each year. They will actually lay their eggs on the milkweed, and when the babies hatch out, the caterpillars, they will just sit on the plant and munch, 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 and get huge before they have to kind of work on their chrysalis and pupate into a full-fledged butterfly at the end of the season. So without milkweed, we would not have a whole lot of different kinds of butterflies. Now these are really young right now. They get pretty big, and they have these amazing seeds. So when they get larger and they seed, all these seeds are kind of like little poofs, and they get taken by the wind and they get scattered around. So while these are pretty much put here for the butterflies, if you look, when you walk down, you'll see some of the milkweed kind of interspersed. So you've got some more in here, kind of popping up right there. Now a lot of people think that these are weeds, but they're really, really important because we need those. Butterflies are not only beautiful and really cool and really interesting, but they do a lot of pollination on their own. Different kinds of butterflies have like these long proboscis that they'll kind of put in the flowers to kind of slurp up the nectar and kind of pollinate. The pollen will get stuck on their bodies and their wings, and when they go from flower to flower, they're pollinating them. So butterflies are pretty important to have around, and who doesn't like a butterfly? So definitely want the milkweed around. There are lots of different milkweed species, mind you. Now you can actually go online, and most places will send you milkweed seeds for free because they want you to plant milkweed to start your own butterfly garden. So you can look that up online, and they'll, you get all kinds of different things and kind of plant them in your yard. When they flower, they're actually really pretty, and they're kind of a necessary part of the pollination cycle. So good find, guys.
Do you know that besides birds and butterflies and bees, bats are pollinators too?
I knew that, Crystal, but a lot of people don't know that bats are pollinators. There's a lot that eat insects, don't get me wrong, but there are certain species that have evolved long tongues that are perfectly made to kind of go into the flowers, suck up some of the nectar and the pollen, and as they go from flower to flower, they're pollinating those plants. So bats are really an important pollinator as well in different parts of the world, and they're really, really cool.
Michael's over in the water playing with a snapping turtle, and I just have a question. Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Are snapping turtles pollinators?
They're not pollinators.
They are not pollinators.
They're not.
No.
All they pollinate is my happiness. So.
My name is Michael Mach. I'm the Panda Keeper Extraordinaire here with the Greensboro Science Center. So we have our PM Panda Biscuit die right here, and we're going to go place it on exhibit and put in a few spots so they have to forage around for it a little bit. And this is something that they get plus bamboo just to help keep their weight more constant, because bamboo's pretty cruddy nutrition-wise. So we got our biscuits here. We have our main training platform. Then we have some spots throughout the exhibit that we could place our biscuits. That way they don't get damp when it rains. They could get a nice crunchy dry biscuit, that same consistency as the Nature Valley granola bars. So we do have Usha up top just being adorable. She's probably just going to go to those couple down there, but she might come to the platform. She earns her keep by just being cute, so. Ty's not earning his biscuits today. He's inside sleeping.
How old are Ty and Usha, Mike?
So Ty is 7, Usha is 4, and they'll be turning a year older later this spring. Ty came to us from one of the Dakota zoos, and then Usha came to us from Calgary, Canada. And the magic's about to happen. So these two are recommended to breed, so they are together this breeding season, and hopefully the sparks fly, the magic happens, and we have some little pandas in the near future. but nothing's confirmed. But they've gotten along very well, so we're hopeful. So red pandas are from the mountain ranges of Southeast Asia, primarily the Himalayas. They are endangered due to habitat loss, and that habitat loss is caused by mankind encroachment. So having a breeding pair here and hopefully them being successful is really big to have that genetic pool in captivity, just in case numbers continue to decline. So he's in his climate-controlled back area. Because it is a little toasty today, we do have the fan going on in there. But typically, once it gets really hot, he has the AC, and in wintertime, he has the heater going. Even though perfectly suited for the cold, he does have that access to a warmer spot. Does he use it? Meh. Typically curls up outside in the snow.
So here at the Arboretum, they have a beautiful butterfly garden and fountain, which we're standing in front of right now. And in the butterfly garden, they have lots of flowering plants that attract butterflies.
Where's the fountain?
The fountain's not on right now,
Okay.
unfortunately, but it is on a lot of the time. I don't know when it'll be back on. Some of the things that we can do at home are plant some native plants to draw in pollinators to our yards. They add lots of color and beauty with their plants like purple coneflowers, bee balm, and blue lobelia that you can add to your garden at home, and that'll bring some butterflies over and they'll help pollinate all the fruits and vegetables and everything else.
Well, it's a little early in the season, so we don't have a lot of growth yet, but as it gets a little warmer, you know, everything's gonna shoot up and start flowering and be absolutely beautiful and bring everything in.
Yeah, well, so one of the things that attracts butterflies is the color of the pollen, and butterflies are really attracted to red pollen. We usually think of pollen as being yellow. Bees are a little more attracted to the yellow, so the things that bring in butterflies are a little different sometimes. So you always want a nice mixture, but they have things here that are specifically attractive to the butterflies.
Absolutely, and that way everything can get pollinated. You know, bees see yellow and they see blue really well, but they actually can't see red. So
Isn't that interesting?
everybody kind of has their own little niche.
Well, do you want to walk around the garden
I
and
would
see
love
what
to
they
walk around
have
the
here?
garden, yes, but let's do that. So we were talking about all the different pollinators. So we've got, you know, the bees, the butterflies, you know, we've got the bats. There's lots of different animals that are pollinators too that you don't even think about. Like there's certain lemurs and something called a kinkajou, like a big mammal in South America that's a pollinator as well. There's pollinators all over the world. But you know what? There's a lot of issues going on too that, you know, we have to worry about them. Have you heard about any of those?
Yes, I have heard a little bit about some issues. I'm always super careful what I put out in my yard because pesticides are harmful to pollinators.
They are. They're not really one species pesticides. You're going to have to try to kill some of the pest species, but you can take out butterflies and bees and other stuff like that. It's just poison, so you got to be really, really careful. Have you heard about the Asian giant hornets?
I have.
Okay, so they're an invasive species. They're calling them murder hornets out in the Pacific Northwest. Now, the problem with them, you know, yes, they can be a nuisance and whatnot, but people are getting a little nervous about them, and they're actually wiping out whole beehives if they don't understand which species is out there. The good ones are possibly the new invasive, so they're just wiping out the good stuff too. So you gotta be really, really careful with that kind of stuff. I know that's not in this area yet, but people got to be aware and always kind of use professional help if they think they might need it. And because without pollinators, we miss out on a huge important thing: food.
Food, our favorite.
Exactly, our absolute favorite. There's a lot of different foods. We were talking about lots of fruits and vegetables and other stuff. So I brought you some pollinator presents.
I love presents.
Right, I knew you would. So just because we're talking about pollinators today, I wanted you to have that.
Ooh, sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes, absolutely.
That
So
was
without
one of my
those,
favorites.
right? They're great, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know they grow in the ground, but they do send up big green shoots and big flowers that, if they don't get pollinated, we don't have them, and we don't have
apples.
Exactly. So you don't have apples, which just makes me sad because I love the pie. Okay, and we can't have apple pie without the apples. Unfortunately, I need pollination to happen so I can have apple pie. Just like we won't have
peaches.
Peaches, yeah. I didn't have any fresh ones, so we're going to use a can.
All
It
right.
totally counts, though. So yes, you want peaches?
Well, this is just practically a smorgasbord.
I know, exactly.
But you know what we're missing? Chocolate.
We could have chocolate. I love the sweet stuff. I absolutely love the sweet stuff. But chocolate's chocolate. Where's that? It comes, what?
Chocolate grows outside.
It grows outside.
Yeah.
I can get a
Yep, you can get it here. It grows natively. No, it doesn't grow native here. But chocolate,
I want a Kit Kat bush in my garden.
we're going to plant you one as soon as we get home.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You are welcome.
That sounds amazing. But yeah.
We have to have pollinators to pollinate the trees that grow the cocoa beans on them.
Right. There's actually, I think it's called a midge. It's a type of fly. It's one little tiny fly, and it's the only thing pollinator small enough to get into these intricate little flowers to pollinate the cocoa beans so that we have chocolate.
Yay! Woo!
Yep. Now that one, the Almond Joy, so there's a lot of cool things in that. So not only is it chocolate, so we need the pollinators for chocolate, but the almonds, we won't have any almonds without pollinators. We won't have any coconuts either. So all of that is basically made by pollinators.
Pollinators are so important.
I brought a Kit Kat too, but I'd like to keep it.
You may.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And of course, there's a huge thing that I know everybody loves and that certain pollinators are famous for.
What is that?
What is that? We would not have honey.
Oh, honey, you're so sweet.
I try. So yeah, so all that stuff comes from pollinators. So without, so if we can kind of watch what we're doing and make sure they're safe, do a few things at home to keep them, happy and kind of promote them, they'll keep going and then we'll keep getting all this delicious food.
Fantastic.
Right? So Crystal, this was a really good adventure we had today, I think.
It sure was.
Yeah, I enjoyed it immensely. You got to learn all about pollinators. Did you learn anything fun?
I did. I learned a lot of fun things about pollinators.
That's
My
awesome.
favorite thing was the bee dance.
The bee dance, yep. Bees can dance, absolutely. Just to let you guys know at home, that might have been an artistic rendering of a bee dance, not completely accurate, but we do our best. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. We learned about bees, butterflies, bats, other lettered pollinators, all kinds of fun stuff.
And this is a great place where you can see some pollinators and see some native plants that draw pollinators in. This is a beautiful, beautiful garden.
Yeah, it's an amazing garden, a wonderful park, and it's great to get outside, enjoy nature, and kind of just get back to being outside and recreating.
That's right.
All while staying safe. So, or be safe. So anyway, thanks again for coming to visit with us, guys. It's been a wonderful EcoVenture episode. I hope you come back to see us on the next one. I'm Mike Romano.
I'm Crystal Jones.
We'll see you next time.